Hi everyone, welcome to the MrpTech Podcast. This is episode 130. My name is Matt and this is the weekly podcast discussing everyday tech for everyday people. And in this week's episode, I'd like to take a look at the iPad Pro, and I want to answer for myself and maybe for some listeners out there, is the iPad Pro capable of becoming your new laptop, your new main device that you use every day? So I have an iPad, it's 10.5 inches iPad Pro, and I may have got it a year and a half ago, maybe a year ago, and I use it mostly for business applications, music applications, such as running live sound systems remotely, and I don't use it for a lot of heavy lifting and a lot of heavy work. So I wanted to put it to the test this week to see what I could do with an iPad Pro and could it be used as a main device. Now, straight out there, right from the get-go, I am a little bit biased towards having a really powerful machine that is capable of doing a whole lot of work for me. And I wasn't sure how this was going to go. So we all know the benefits of having a tablet device of some kind, whether it's a Surface Pro, whether you have a Samsung tablet, or if you're running iOS. Those benefits, the long battery life, 10 hours or more, being really lightweight and durable, having these devices that can slip into a slipcase and you can take it with you on the run. You don't even need a bag, that type of thing. So we all know the benefits of having something compact, portable, and that doesn't take up a lot of space. So if you're looking into a new computer and you're looking, do I want a tablet instead of a laptop? First you got to look at the devices you want, whether you want to go Android or if you want a Windows device or if you want an iOS device. So you got to look into what ecosystem you're looking for first. If you are using Windows at work, a Windows 10 tablet might fit well. But if you're using MacBook Pros, then obviously you might want something different, and that would be okay. But if you want something that's going to work all together, probably not going to be the best fit. Now, some people, if you ever listen to, say, the Nightwise podcast, he's known for being cross-platform, having all these devices, just being a technology enthusiast and coming up with these crazy solutions on how to get everything to work together. And there are ways you can do that, whether it's apps or add-ons or external servers or what have you, you can get these devices to work together. But having, in this case, a 10.5-inch screen, it's a good size screen to get some work done. So in my case, storage really isn't an issue. I've got I think this is a 264 gigabyte iPad. Somewhere, it's not the smallest of hard drives that I could get. It's not the largest, somewhere in between. And it's running iOS 12, so it's running with all the latest and greatest features from iOS. And I remember getting a pretty good deal on it as well, so it wasn't the crazy, insane prices out there. I was looking at the bigger iPad Pro 12.9 inch, and I just didn't want to spend that much money at first. So over the last week or so, I've been seeing if this would work for me, not anybody else. Would it work for me in my workflow? And one of those things that keeps popping back into my head is, okay, I have a strange situation. I have lots of different things that I do, some of which I'm not sure are possible on the iPad without a lot of work. So first of all, the very first thing that I thought of was YouTube. Now, most people will watch YouTube videos and they'll log on to YouTube, watch a few videos, leave. I use YouTube not only as for watching videos, but I also archive this show. I archive concerts that I have recorded And once in a while, I like to go get my video and do some work on it. So I download the video from YouTube. Now, I have found articles that it's possible to do on iPad, but every article that I find tells me that you have to download an app from the App Store, and usually those apps aren't there very long. So that was my first roadblock that I ran into. And if you're somebody who is using an iPad mostly for, say, consumption, like social media, web browsing, watching videos, and that's all you do, then the iPad is going to be just fine for you. But here's where things change. If you want the iPad to actually be there and get some work done for you, you've got to buy accessories. So the price goes up really quick when you want to expand functionality on the iPad. For instance, if you want to make it more like a laptop, you may want to buy some sort of keyboard folio for it. And those can range anywhere from $40 to $200, depending on what you want. Now, in my case, I picked up a Zag keyboard folio. I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head what model it is, but it was the one that ranges about $100. I bought it at the same time as I did the iPad. And immediately, the first thing that I did was I was searching for a touchpad, just by habit, or a trackpad. And it took me a good few days to get used to not having a trackpad with a keyboard. It was just habit using a laptop all the time to not have that trackpad because iOS doesn't need one. So it took a little bit of getting used to, but I soon found that having a keyboard was actually much more useful on an iPad than I thought it would be. And being Bluetooth, when I don't want the keyboard, I can take the iPad out of the keyboard case and just keep using it the way that I normally would without it. And this keyboard actually makes the flow of an iPad much better. So getting those accessories is probably an important step one if you want to use the iPad as a daily driver. As much as I hate putting in extra money with external devices, it does make it more useful. Now, after reading countless articles about how to turn an iPad into your main computing device, a lot of people talk about the Apple Pencil. And it started off at, I believe, $100 and maybe even $130 now. The Apple Pencil is something that does not interest me in any way. If it came with the iPad, it might be a different story, but I'm not one to go out and spend that. Now, it could be very similar to the keyboard folio, where it would greatly expand your functionality with the iPad. I personally don't want my iPad to be scratched. I have a screen protector on it, and I don't want to see marks from a stylus on it. I just prefer the nicer looking screen without it. So you will probably get expanded functionality from an Apple Pencil. Just not something that really interests me. But at the same time, we have to keep in mind that over the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, the technology is going to continue to evolve, and the future is sort of here now. iPads, Surface Pros, Samsung tablets, they're all going to keep getting better, and they are getting to the point now where they can handle a lot of things. My biggest problem, my workflow change. And you can have things like iMovie on your iPad or other apps out there that do video editing. I could record this podcast entirely on my iPad, and chances are, if it's edited correctly, nobody would ever know. You can edit photos pretty well with iPad. You can add on external storage with things like Google Drive and Dropbox and Nextcloud, OneDrive, all those things, and expand your storage, having things stored in the cloud. But then again, that's not my style. That's not what I do. In fact, I'm very limited with what I do store in those cloud services. So yeah, the future's here, and it's okay, but I still feel more at home on an actual desktop computer or a laptop computer where I can have a bigger screen. I can have multiple displays. I can have things like i7 processors, and I can have 32 gigs of RAM and really have the power to get things done that I need at a much quicker pace. The iPad seems to slow me down when I do try to work with things like video editing, that type of thing. Could I get faster at it? I probably could, honestly. Like if I really spent a lot of time, I probably could get faster on an iPad. And if I'm going to edit photos, I'm going to want to store them, on my computer, or I'm going to want to store them or put them on websites, that type of thing. I'm finding as time goes on, things get a little easier. For instance, the WordPress app for certain websites that I'm a part of, WordPress app is getting much better, and it's actually pretty easy to make some updates or changes to my website from the iPad, which was never really something I could do before. I still prefer to log in a web browser on a laptop and make changes to my websites there. I can see better. I have more room to, I can actually see the changes being made. So things like design and creative work are really still a struggle. And a lot of people probably understand that. A lot of coders or developers think that it's just not really satisfying on an iPad Pro to code. Now, some people probably do code. I will tell you that connecting to other machines is pretty easy, whether you're using LogMeIn or TeamViewer or just SSHing into another machine. That is very easy, works great. So in some cases, that's kind of handy. So like at school, if my IRLP node for amateur radio goes down, I can SSH into that machine and it's back up. And even though I'm 50 plus miles away, and just makes life easy. I don't have to wait till the next day to get it in. If somebody tells me it's down, I can basically get the system back up and running. I can reboot it remotely and log right back in and bring the system back up. So just things like that are handy on the iPad. And the one thing that I don't like about iPad is it's or even iPhone is it's difficult to work with machines that are not Mac based. It's hard to get things to play nicely, whether I want to put a file on or take a file off, or put music on and take music off. A file system, they have a very basic one now in iOS, and it's not great. I would like a full-blown file system for iPad. Boy, would that be great. It's rather than just hiding it. So as I go around and I read all the other podcasts guys out there, or bloggers, or people in the tech field, I read their conclusions on the iPad. They all have the same type of answer. That, yep, this is probably the best tablet by far, and many people will do more than fine with it. But most people still say, not really. This isn't really something that I could do full-time 100% without, my MacBook Pro or another computer of some kind to work with. A lot of people still say that they can get things done faster on other machines. And will that change in the future? Probably. I'm sure that things are going to get easier to do on an iPad as time goes on. But the problem is, if you want to do more and more things with iPad, you have to purchase more and more accessories. Whether you want a stylus, or you want a camera connection kit, or you want a headphone jack, or you want to link to TV, so you buy an Apple TV. All of these different things, when you purchase them, the price just goes right through the roof. So yes, when you want to do things like photo edit, there's Snapseed, there's Adobe Lightroom, Creative Cloud, there's Pixelmator. Video editing, there is like iMovie and LumaFusion. You have TeamViewer and LogMeIn. You've got things like Slack that are available, Discord, all those great things. But in my experience, the iPad is something that I spend a very limited amount of time on. And It is a great little tablet to have for those times when I'm not producing something, not working on a big project. If I just want to watch a 5-minute YouTube video, but I don't want to get my computer out, those things are great. iPads are great to travel with. I'm looking at my settings here. I've had this for a year and a half and I've got 8 pictures on this iPad, and most of them are screenshots, so I've never really used the camera. And it sort of complements my iPhone. I have, podcast players, and I've got Audible on both, and I can sync back and forth between those two if I wanted to. I don't usually do that, but I can. So it does make things a little easier. But can an iPad become a full-blown computing device for me? Absolutely not. 100% no. No way whatsoever. And I'm sure that there are people out there. In fact, I know that some of the people that I work with, I see them all the time with their laptop. They have a keyboard folio, and they seem to do all their work, make their way around the building with an iPad. Seems to work for them. That's really great. And if you do that, that's really great too. Just not in my experience. Am I going to be able to use an iPad full blown? If you use an iPad and you've got some tricks, if you use it full time and you don't use anything else but an iPad, and you have tricks, you can send them to me. Email me, mrptechreviews@gmail.com. I would be really curious on what people are doing out there to make it happen full time, because who knows, I could come back in 6 months or 2 years from now, and the ecosystem could have changed enough to make it happen where I could run something full time. It's close, but not there yet. In the meantime, I'm still doing my workflow on mostly Linux, which is great. I try to do as much in Linux as I possibly can, just because it's fun and different. And, I like to be different. And that's part of the reason why probably I don't stick with iPad full time. I like to be different. I like to be unique. I like to try new things. And Linux just does that for me. So if it doesn't do it for you, that's cool. But this system has been running pretty rock solid. In fact, I've actually been... seems like every week now I'm getting more and more comments on the video that I did, the video review for the System 76 laptop. I'm getting more and more comments on that video as time goes on. And I think it may be time to do like a 6-month or however long it's been update video on that. And if I get a chance to, I might do that at some point over the next couple of weeks. Just because there are some updates that I'd like to talk with everybody about if anybody is looking into a System 76 laptop, and some things I'd like to clarify on from the original video. So I'll probably be doing that at some point in time. If you'd like to join us in our chat room and you want to join in some fun in-between shows, the chat room is really great. You can join us on Discord. Just go to the website, mrptechreviews.com. You'll see the big Discord button, and join us there. It's free, and more and more people are joining in. In fact, I did get a message this past week from one of the listeners who really enjoyed the Escape at Dannemora series. I have to tell you that the book that I just finished reading about the Escape at Dannemora was far better than I expected it to. That was the Wild Escape book written by Chelsea Rose Marcius. And that book elaborated on a lot of the things that happened after the actual escape and where they went, what they did, how they survived. It was a really fascinating book. So that's available in paperback and Kindle and Audible as well. So I highly encourage anybody to check that out. As far as other great podcasts to listen to, go to podnuts.com and listen to the podcast there if you're interested in technology topics. My sort of rundown for podcasts changes from time to time. Currently in my podcast player, I have a few music podcasts that I like to listen to. As a trumpet player, one of my podcasts that I like to listen to is called The Other Side of the Bell. It's a trumpet podcast that interviews famous trumpet players from around the world. I haven't listened to it in a long time, but it is a really fun and one to learn if you're a musician. I listen to Brain Stuff podcasts, just find interesting facts there. All the Pod Nuts podcasts. There's a few really great Linux podcasts that I listen to. And my list sort of grows, and I tend to delete some podcasts I don't listen to as far as time goes on. But Nightwise is in there, the nightwise.com. Going Linux is another great show that we've had some fun with, having Larry Bushy on here in the past. And, go out and listen to these people that are working incredibly hard, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly podcasts, to provide a learning experience for listeners. And that's really what I do. I just do it for the fun of it, and people seem to really enjoy it, and I do appreciate feedback. So if you want to send me an email, mrptechreviews@gmail.com. Join us in Discord, and big thanks to Podnuts for keeping this show going week after week. That's going to do it for this time. We will see you next time.